Welcome back everyone to my Flying Somm YouTube channel. Today I'm going to teach you the art of blind tasting. Wine Tasting 101, how to taste wine like a sommelier. Before we get started, I wanted to provide you a few additional wine terms you may want to know. Did you know that wine grapes are typically grown between 30 degrees and 50 degrees latitude in the northern hemisphere and 30 degrees to 50 degrees latitude in the southern hemisphere, as well as a few other wine terms you should know. Viticulture with a T, viticulture is growing grapes, and viniculture is making wine. So we have viticulture and viniculture. We have growing grapes between 30 to 50 latitude. A couple other wine terms you should know: New World versus Old World. New World is anywhere but Europe. South Africa, Australia, Argentina, Canada, anywhere that's not Europe. And Old World is anywhere that is Europe. So France, Italy, Spain. That's a classic example of Old World versus New World. But enough with wine terms. Let's get tasting. So the art of blind tasting, wine tasting like a sommelier. No, you don't have to wear a blindfold in order to blind taste wines. What we mean is when a sommeliers practice our craft, we practice tasting wine, we always like to line up wines in different glasses and we don't know what they are. So we have a total of 4 wines here, 2 white wines, 2 red wines. What we're going to do is we're going to start off blind tasting with our white wines first. So how we taste wines like a sommelier, the art of blind tasting, not knowing what's in the glass, is we always taste in 3 simple steps. Step number 1, using our eyes. Step number 2, using our nose. And step number 3, using our mouth or our palate. So using our eyes, the first thing we want to do is grab our 2 white wines to allow for some compare and contrast. Because again, we don't know what these wines are. We have no idea. Secretly, I know. But for today's purpose, we don't know what these wines are. So first thing first, of course, 45-degree angles over something white. And what we want to do is we want to look down with bright light at that white reflective surface to see if there's a difference in color. And I definitely noticed that wine number 1 is a little bit lighter and a little bit more see-through, whereas wine number 2 is a little bit more rich gold color to it. So right away I've noticed wine number 1 a little whiter, a little clear, a little more rich, a little more gold. I'm starting to think to myself, what could these wines possibly be? Because it's all about funneling down to a final answer of what this wine could and couldn't be. By guessing, just by color alone, Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc, any type of those fresh, crisp style white wines, that's what this looks like. Wine number 2, a little more of that rich gold color, maybe Chardonnay, maybe Viognier. There's several other options it could possibly be, but right off the bat, we're starting to funnel down options of what it could and couldn't be just by using our eyes and looking. Step number 2 is we smell. Don't worry, we get to taste soon. Don't be afraid to give a wine. Let it open up a little, let it breathe. You want to stretch your legs before you go for a run. Get your nose right into the glass like that, like so. Now this wine smells very fresh, smells very crisp, smells very fruit forward. Definitely get a lot of apple, peach, and pear notes. I definitely do not get any type of buttery, vanilla, honey notes. A lot of fresh, crisp fruit. Let's go ahead and smell wine number 2, see if we can get some fruit notes off of this wine. Wow, this wine smells heavier. It has more body, it smells bigger. This one smells lean, fast. This one smells heavier and fuller. The fruit on this one is like banana, pineapple, kind of in this riper, warmer style, heavier of white wines. So fresh and crisp is how this wine smells. Fuller and heavier is how wine number 2 smells. Now this wine, I said I don't get any honey or vanilla or kind of those notes that you would associate with oak. So I'm going to guess that wine number 1 has not had any time in oak. Wine number 2, however, definitely getting some vanilla notes, some honey notes, kind of that definite richness that comes from oak use. So I'm going to guess that wine number 1 no oak. Wine number 2 has probably spent some time in oak because I'm getting those oaky flavors that you would associate with a white wine spending time in oak. Now comes the fun part. Let's taste. Oh, wine number 1, it's very fresh, it's very crisp, it's light on its feet, it doesn't have any big full-bodied heaviness to it. This tastes like a really great white wine I may want to have on a patio or at lunchtime with perhaps like a nice salad, maybe some sandwiches, kind of in that lighter starting a meal out. Very light, very fresh, very crisp, very, very elegant too. This is a really pretty wine. Wow, that's really, really nice. Let's go taste wine number 2. It looks richer, it smells richer and bigger. Let's see if it tastes richer and tastes bigger. Whew. Right off the bat, if there was like an image I could do, it would be this. It's bigger, it's heavier, it's richer, it's just like if this was maybe on a summer patio, this might be a little more on kind of like a summer's evening dinner. A little richer, a little heavier, maybe getting into that kind of roast chicken with some gravy, or maybe like a nice rich pasta primavera, kind of that creamier, richer department. So let's start making some guesses. What could we possibly have? Because that's the conclusion. You have to eventually make a guess. Wine number 1, it's fresh, it's crisp, it's lean, it's mean. It's either a Pinot Grigio or a Sauvignon Blanc, but we'll have to do the reveal afterwards to find out. And wine number 2, because of the oaky vanilla-ness, I definitely think I know what it could be, but we'll have to wait and see for after this video for the final reveal. What wines do we have in the glass? Who knows? Okay, so we've done our blind tasting of our 2 white wines. Let's jump into our red wines. So again, 45-degree angle over something white like a napkin, a plate. I like to use a white piece of paper, keep it simple. And without a doubt, I see that wine number 1 definitely has more of a ruby color and see-through. I can see right through the wine. I could almost probably read a book through it. It's much lighter and red color, ruby. However, wine number 2, more of a dark, opaque, almost violet. If you kind of run your finger underneath, you almost can't see it. That is a dark, violet, opaque wine. So again, right off the bat, as a trained sommelier, I'm using my eyes going, now I know that Sangiovese, which is the grape in Chianti, and Pinot Noir tend to take on more of a ruby color. So I'm going to start thinking in my head, I bet you were kind of into this department, this kind of style of wine. Wine number 2, it's violet, it's opaque, it just looks dark and mean. I bet you we are into Cabernet Sauvignon, Shiraz, Malbec. We're definitely getting into that bigger style of wine. And again, that's just by using my eyes. We haven't smelt, we haven't tasted. Let's do step number 2, which is of course the nose. On the nose for the lighter colored red wine. Definitely red fruit flavors. Red raspberry, red cranberry, red cherry, red plum. This is all red fruit. What about wine number 2? See, that's really interesting, is that wine number 2 is the exact opposite. If wine number 1 is all red fruit, wine number 2 all black fruit, blackberry, black plum, black cherry. So we are definitely talking 2 different styles of red wine. Ruby and see-through, violet and opaque. Red fruit flavors, black fruit flavors. What about non-fruit? Now we know in a white wine, if a white wine has spent some time in oak, a little bit of butter or vanilla. Well, what about if a red wine spent some time in oak? Because we talked about fruit notes, now we have to talk about non-fruit notes. So lots of red fruit. What about non-fruit? A really subtle, elegant, kind of chocolatey mushroom note going on here in wine number 1. Not too strong, not too powerful. This smells more of a medium-bodied kind of potency style wine. Whew. Wine number 2, oh, this is like a 747 coming in for a firm landing. This is a huge smelling wine, lots of chocolate, coffee, mocha, espresso. I mean, this is just a 747 versus like that small Learjet. We are talking 2 different styles of wine here. But let's do the fun part. Let's do the tasting. You'll notice I'm kind of just bringing a little bit of air to help bring those receptacles all the way back down my throat. Yeah, definitely red fruit for sure on wine number one. Definitely a little bit of elegant, earthy chocolate notes, but very, very subtle, very, very quiet, very elegant. Good acidity, medium plus acidity, medium tannin, very nice, very pretty wine. Like that very much. I feel like I'd want to do like maybe a roast chicken, maybe a little pasta dish, maybe some charcuterie. It's kind of in that more medium, lighter style of food pairings. Let's taste the number two, the big one. Oh, for sure. Black fruit, chocolate mocha, leather tobacco espresso. I definitely say, where's my New York strip with peppercorn sauce for this? So what are we sipping? Well, let's do the final reveal. Let's find out. Okay, with the magic of editing, boom, final reveal. So what do we have? Wine number one for our whites is a nice Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley. Wine number two is a nice Chardonnay from California. Into our reds, wine number one for the reds was a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, France. And wine number two was a California Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, classic Napa in a glass. Today's featured wines are brought to you by ABV Group here in Toronto. If you live in the GTA, if you live in Ontario, you can order these wines directly to your front door. I really hope that you managed to learn something new today. The art of blind tasting wine is a lot of fun. Get a couple of bottles, get a couple of glasses, get some friends, start pouring wines blind, and have fun. Use your terms like acid, alcohol, body, tannin, fruit notes, and non-fruit notes, and really just kick back and have a good time. If you really want to learn how to taste wine like a sommelier, start sipping. Thanks for joining me on Cloud Wine. See you soon.